morning, everybody. My name is Orit Gadish, and on behalf of Bain & Company, our worldwide managing partner, Manny Maceda, and all our partners here, welcome to our 60th annual Davos Breakfast. Agile, the business philosophy that relies on fast-moving, self-managing teams for innovation, has officially entered the mainstream of corporate management vocabulary. Visit almost any large company these days, in any part of the world, and you will find managers discussing scores of agile teams working to improve customer experience and improve business processes. They will tell you that agile increases team productivity and employee satisfaction. It minimizes waste and maximizes responsiveness. But dig further down, and actually few incumbents fully reap the full benefits of Agile. Why? Because in implementation, unlike theory, you cannot edict Agile. Ask more, and you will find that few leaders have done more than just watch an Agile team. Few managers have actively participated in a team, and almost none have led one. Ask general managers what they really know about making Agile happen, and chances are that they respond with a quip such as, just enough to be dangerous. And they're right. When general managers lack this foundational understanding, their everyday ways of working make adoption of Agile and eventual success nearly impossible. Today's session is about how to do Agile well without sacrificing efficiency and reliability, which are essential to traditional operations. How to roll out Agile, how to scale it and how to build it across the businesses, and how the role of leadership must change over time to optimize results. We're fortunate to have three speakers with us who are uniquely qualified to address this topic. Joining us from VMware is Sanjay Punen, Chief Operating Officer of the firm. Joining us from Banco Bradesco, one of Latin America's largest banks, Mauricio Minas is responsible for information technology, operations, and digital channels. Kicking the session off is Darrell Rigby, who is my friend and fellow partner at Bain & Company.
We're in an amazing place at an amazing time. I think this is such a wonderful time of year. January is a time of resolutions. We set personal resolutions. Our companies are setting corporate resolutions. And it's just a wonderful time to be renewing ourselves and starting over again. And when I talk to them about the company that they want to run, we hear about things like, we want to be entrepreneurial, we want to innovate, we want our customers to love us, we want our employees to be engaged, we want them to be able to feel the energy in the company, we want them to feel pride in what they're doing. And when we talk to them about the current situation, they always talk about sluggishness, silos, just can't get the people to move quickly enough, tied up in bureaucracy. If I were to give two pieces of advice for how do you do Agile right, I would say two things. One is balance, and the second is use Agile to become Agile. Agile is very, very good for innovation. It is not great for running routine operations. Hierarchies, bureaucracies that preserve the status quo, they work just fine for those kinds of things. In fact, they're often quite efficient. So what we need in an organization is balance. We have to be able to run the organization efficiently, to do the things that we need to do repeatedly, very efficiently. We also need to adapt. We need to change. And finding that balance, I think, is the tricky part of doing Agile. It does not mean doing Agile teams everywhere in the organization. The second thing I would say is use Agile to become Agile. Most of the people that we work with that do this successfully find themselves going through three stages. The first is we want to master Agile teams. Second stage of evolution is typically once people get so much confidence in these Agile teams, they'll do what we call Agile at scale. And then the last stage, I would say, is what we would call building an Agile enterprise.
There were kind of a couple of different things that were very important to us. One was having interactions in these teams, smaller teams, often would call sort of pizza-sized teams. In other words, everyone eats out of a pizza box, so to speak. The interactions between them were very, very important as to cascading interactions with very large teams. The second thing that was very important was very, very rapid prototyping. You don't want to be in a place where you're in the old school of software development. You did things and then you had a release 1 year or 2 years or 4 years later, and you got updates every quarter, every 6 months. In a much more rapid prototyping perspective, you're doing things on a daily, weekly, and the cloud facilitates actually a lot of that process to be a lot faster. And the third thing that's very important is having customers at the center of this from the beginning in a rapid fashion where you're getting continuous feedback from them. I think it's applicable to any industry beyond just software.
Today's world, the economy of platforms, the vision is not as important as the execution. That's one lesson that we learned at Bradesco. It's important for us to move from the prototyping phase, when you are proof concepting things, into execution as fast as you can, and to deployment of that into production. Because otherwise, you're going to get stuck. And time to market is critical in these days. We had to have some cultural changes, like leadership. A bank traditionally is based on command and control. But on the other hand, for Agile, we needed much more inspirational leaderships. We had to move from commander-in-chief to communicator-in-chief, people who would influence other people to do things in a different way. And leadership was critical for us to succeed, as well as change management. Error tolerance, which was unthinkable in the past and today is part of our day-to-day. Hierarchy issues. I mean, we had to put together a lean hierarchy, otherwise it wouldn't work. Innovation as part of our DNA. And even to believe that we should disrupt our own business model. That was not a threat, but it should be seen as an opportunity. We were able to build very diversified teams, giving us the necessary agility for us to move ahead in a very complicated world, where competitors are coming not from the original space we're used to.
From a P&L perspective, we talk a lot about business definition, and historically you would say, well, how should I structure my business units and how does that cascade down into whatever micro P&Ls you might have? That's all still relevant. So you would look at competitor sharing, customer sharing, cost sharing, et cetera, and depending on what your strategic advantage is and how you're trying to shape your business going forward. But what matters also is that you have a customer needs-based perspective on how you're defining your P&L. And the mistake that we often see companies make is they're putting this notion of innovation sort of above good business structure. And so we would encourage you to think about, how do I future-proof my organizational units by thinking about that customer need state so that you can disrupt yourself and have innovation embedded in the units.
So thank you all for coming.